We want to know about some of the guys that you faced just as fans. I mean, come up in a time with some dudes, some guys that we all looked up to, I'm sure, with Dwight Gooden. You faced him in the World Series, right?
In the playoffs.
Playoffs, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Man, he was dealing. And we're in New York, and they're up by 2 runs. He walked me. People get mad saying, if he hadn't walked me, Mike Socha, who didn't hit a lot of home runs, Socha hit a home run to tie up the game, and we beat him in extra innings. And so everybody, that I hear all the time, man, if you hadn't walked T-Bone, and at that time, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had given up like 3 hits. Well, I had 2 of them. So I was seeing him pretty good. So he had me 0-2, and I got a walk. And then Socha, I guess it must have took the air out of him. He lays a fastball. Socha gets him. And, facing him, he threw hard. You just had to make him get it down. I got a couple hits off of him. Nolan Ryan, I know I got 1 hit with the bases, so may have got a couple hits off of him. And then, like the other 5,000, I walked back to the dugout. So I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of that. Roger Clemens, only faced him a couple of times. There were some tough pitchers, a guy in Toronto, Dave Steep, he just had a cutter that every time you swing, it looked like it was down the middle, and by the time you got your hands past your waist, that thing was breaking in on your hands. Got a couple hits off of him. There was one guy with the White Sox, and I can't ever forget him. It was Brett Burns, big lefty. He just threw hard, and he threw high. And I loved high fastballs. And he just kept throwing them high, and I just kept walking back to the dugout. Just could not touch him. I shouldn't be saying this, but there was one guy he pitched for Houston. I'll never forget, we were in Houston, and I had struck out 2 times. The 3rd time up, I'm like, I'm not going to swing. I'm not going to swing. I'm not going to swing. And next thing I know, I got 2 strikes. I worked the count to 3-2. I said, I know he's going to throw it. I'm not going to swing. I'm not going to swing. And I'm looking for the splitter, and he threw a high fastball. And the whole time I said I wasn't going to swing, so when I saw the fastball, I went for it, and I realized it was out of the zone. I did a check swing, and now I'm walking back to the dugout, and this guy over the dugout, he's like, hey, Shelby, how many times you going to strike out? And I hate to say this, but I said some words. Oh, my God. Nobody had ever heard me curse, and I didn't curse, at that time. And so it just echoed in the Astrodome, and I'm looking at him. I want to go up and kill him, I check swung, but I want to kill him, So when I get in the dugout, I sat down, and all my teammates, everybody went to the other end of the dugout. And I'm sitting down there by myself, and I'm fuming. And finally, one of my teammates came down. He said, hey, you all right? I said, yeah, I'm fine. And he looks down. He said, hey, T-Bone's fine. And then Tommy Lasorda comes down. You got the filthiest mouth I ever heard of. I'm like, oh, my God. Mike Scott, couldn't touch him. Yeah, in 88, we're playing him at the end of the year. And he threw me a fastball, and I hit a home run off of him. And it's the only fastball I ever hit, the only one he ever threw. I never saw another one, but he wound up winning the game for us. But there were some other guys that, I don't know. I'm just drawing a blank on them because I faced so many guys. I got one. Remember Mitch Williams? So Mitch Williams, left-hander. He pitched for the Cubs, he pitched for Texas, and he threw hard. But they called him Wild Thing because he would throw and fall all over the mound. His hair was halfway down his back. I mean, he threw absolute gas. And so we're playing in Texas at that time. They didn't have a batting cage, but where our dugout was, our locker room was under the stands. You're under the fans, so nobody can see you. And there's a sidewalk that goes, from our dugout all the way down the left field line. He's pitching, and the manager's like, hey, you might be hitting, so you need to get loose. So I'm under the stands, and I'm taking dry swings, and I hear one of our hitters announce, and I hear the crowd go, "Ooh!" I hear another one. He gets announced. You hear the crowd, "Ooh!" And they're like, "T-Bone, hey, you on deck?" And I'm like, all right, I'm coming. So by the time I walk out, I hear the guy, announced, and I'm getting my helmet, and I haven't seen anything, and I hear, "Oh!" the crowd. And so I go out, I take a couple practice swings, I walk up to the plate. Man, he threw a fastball right down the middle, and I'm like, bam! Hit a double off the wall, the dugout's going crazy. I think I may have wound up scoring. I come in, I sat down, guys are patting me on the back, going crazy. The guys are going crazy. And Mike Flanagan, late Mike Flanagan, he walks over, he looks at me. He said, "How did you do that?" I said, "Do what?" He said, "How did you go up there and hit that pitch?" I said, "I was looking for a fastball and he threw it." He said, "Oh, you didn't see what happened, did you?" I said, "No, what happened?" He said, "He hit all three of those guys." And I walked up and hit the first pitch. Oh, man, never saw anything. But, that's just one of those things with baseball, being prepared, man. So I was ready for the moment. I never saw it coming. When I was with the Dodgers, we were playing the Reds. Probably had 100 fans, most of them family in the stands, and Tom Browning throws a complete game no-hitter against us. And so after the game, I got to face all my family, I'm mad, and everybody wants to meet Tom Browning. I'm like, I should have never gave nobody a ticket. But that was that one was hard, in front of your whole family and get no hit. Goose Gossage. So I walk up to hit, and Goose Gossage is pitching. He's throwing gas, and he throws these high fastballs outside. They're balls. And the umpire, first one's a strike. And the umpire said, "Don't you think about looking back here, rookie." And I'm like, all right. And so I stood there, and he just rung me up, and they're like, "Man, what happened? What'd you say to the umpire?" I ain't say nothing. But the whole time, if he had threw him down, I would have never touched him. Boy, that was the hardest pitches I ever seen in my life.